Before you make a single waiver wire ad this week, there are a few players available right now that could legitimately change your fantasy season. In today's video, I'm breaking down my top waiver wire targets, highlighting the most added players this week and whether I'd add, hold, or fold them, and revisiting my last week's waiver wire video to see if any of my recommendations completely blew up in my face and whether a punishment is justified or not. Like it, hype it, bang it. I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. If you are looking for an exciting young player, the 21st ranked prospect per MLB.com who will provide some pop to your lineup and not be a complete zero for steals, this is your guy this week whose roster rate is just absolutely exploding, Mr. Braden Montgomery from the Chicago White Sox. Now, doesn't it just seem like the Chicago White Sox are pumping out quality prospect after quality prospect every week? I think it's a very exciting time to be a Chicago White Sox fan right now. The future is finally looking promising after quite a lot of years of misery, I think, there. So Braden Montgomery was drafted 12th overall in the 2024 MLB draft. He was then given a $5 million bag to eventually just be traded in that Garrett Crochet deal a couple years back. He joined the big league club on Tuesday after batting .313, .429, .606 in 27 games for AA, and then .315, .417, .495 in 29 games for AAA. Monty crushed 10 home runs and stole 5 bags between the two levels this year in 2026. Diving into his hitting profile, Montgomery's bat speed immediately pops off the page at you, especially as a switch hitter. He has great bat speed, and he actually was originally projected to be like a hit over power type guy when he was a Mississippi prepster. But now he's definitely most known for his plus raw power. I can eventually see him becoming like a 25 to 30 home run guy down the road, no problem. Montgomery is very patient at the plate. He doesn't chase outside pitches, and he can definitely work himself deep into counts. Like I always say though, you want to add at least 5% to their strikeout rate from AAA heading over to the majors. So he might struggle a little bit if his strikeout rate is around 30% in the MLB. We'll have to see how we adjust, but again, as a rule, I like to add at least 5% to their AAA stat line. One thing that could inflate that strikeout rate is he really struggled against off-speed pitches in the minors, with some major whiff percentages on sliders and changeups. So major league pitchers will be sure to give him a healthy dose of the off-speed pitches until he proves otherwise. If you hang it though, Montgomery for sure can bang it. He had a 53.8% hard hit percentage, a 10% barrel rate, and a 93 mile per hour average exit velocity, all practically in the 99th percentile. He does have his flaws though. He definitely has his flaws. His zone contact rate at AAA was only 76%, which would rank third to last among major league qualifiers, except that he was doing that against minor league pitching and not even major league pitching. Meanwhile, his ground ball rate was at a whopping 58%. Which means a lot of that hard contact, he was just plowing that thing straight into the dirt, which you obviously don't want. His debut was probably the best that you could ever imagine or draw up, hitting a walk-off home run. The boys were just going crazy, and then he followed that up on Wednesday, hitting a pair of hard-hit doubles, one against Chris Sale. So it's probably the most ideal start you could ask for to your major league career. The power will need to show up consistently, as Montgomery is kind of like your classic high K percentage power hitter, at least at this point in his career or until we see otherwise. But I definitely think he's worth a look in all league sizes because I think he does have the potential to hit double-digit home runs, potentially swipe double-digit bags, and the vibes are just so high right now in the Windy City. So one of the first guys I actually highlighted this year who was a potential power speed threat, a classic post-hype sleeper who never really got a chance to get it going, breaking his hand only 6 games into the season by a hit by pitch. Well, he's back now, and I'm just excited to see if he can pick up where he left off, see what he can do. So welcome back, Mr. Jordan Lawler from the Arizona Diamondbacks. So yeah, this is the first guy that got the NTS curse right off the rip. First highlighted guy in the waiver wire video, post it the day of that he breaks his hand. So that's on me. But things might just be a little bit different now when he's back healthy because of the emergence of Ryan Waldschmidt. The outfield looks a lot different, and I don't know if his spot there is as locked down as it was heading into the year. at least until Gurriel returns. But I do think he's owed his shot, and I hope he's ready to capitalize on it. Lawler actually started off the season, even though it was only 6 games, seeing the ball really well, picking up 6 hits and 1 home run in 20 plate appearances, hitting 5 balls over 100 miles per hour, and that was definitely the thing that I was most excited to see from him to start the year. He does have the fantasy profile to be successful. It's just whether he can turn his natural abilities into consistent production against major league pitching. I am all for chasing the dragon again. I actually had him stashed this entire time in one of my leagues, so just call me a believer. But if he was dropped in one of your 12-man leagues, he's starting, he's coming back and playing on Friday, I'd definitely consider picking him up to see if he can build on that little bit of success that we saw him have in the first games of this season. And if I just jinxed you again, I'll shotgun a few beers in your honor, bro. 2 Chicago White Sox players in the main section in the same video? Like, what year is it, man? Who am I? But like I said, the vibes are just running high in Chi-Town right now, and the lineup has some real dudes. And this guy could be another one with a 52.9% hard hit rate to start off his major league career. Welcome to the main waiver wire section, Mr. Jacob Gonzalez. So Gonzalez was actually projected to be some sort of bust here. He had really scuffled through his minor league career up until last year, really coming to his own in 2026. He posted a 317, 419, 668 triple stash with a 1.087 OPS, launching 19 home runs and a whopping 62 RBI, tagging on 8 steals in just 52 games. He was one of the legit hottest power hitters in all of minor league baseball. His average exit velocities, max exit velocities, hard hit percentages, barrel percentage were all great, and he still walked 14.2% of the time and only struck out at 21.1%, which is solid for a power first guy. Gonzalez didn't really struggle with any off-speed offerings either, which is a great sign for a young hitter, as major league pitchers are just well more equipped to attack your weaknesses and to punish your weaknesses. And he was pulling the ball in the air at a very respectable clip of about 20%. Again, another elite level. If we fast forward to his major league career, since who really cares about what they do in the minors if they do shit all in the majors, after being called up on May 31st, Gonzalez has hit 308, 419, 423 with an 842 OPS, picking up 1 home run and 5 RBI. The biggest sign though, and the biggest positive, at least in my opinion, is his walk rate is still high at 12.9%. The strikeouts are a little bit too high right now at 29%, kind of right in line, like how I say adding 5% to your AAA total for that strikeout total, but I definitely think he can bring that down as he gets a bit more used, a bit more adjusted to major league pitching. The hard hit rate again is astronomical at 52.9%. He's hitting every ball hard. His average exit velocity in the majors is superb at 91.5 miles per hour, and his pull air percentage, albeit a small sample size again here, is 35.3%, which is just obviously unheard of. It's an insane amount there, and it really helps you put your power as a power hitter just to that next level. Simply put, he is just constantly hitting balls over 100 miles per hour, and it looks like he's getting an extended look here with Murakami on the shelf for at least a little bit longer, and at 23 years old, he might just legit be coming into his own. And with first base, second base, and shortstop eligibility, at least in Yahoo, you should be able to fit him into your lineup where he's a nice piece on your bench to be able to put in depending who's out or in on that current day. I like him as an ad in 12-team leagues right now, or at least a bench stash, to see if he can continue to hit a little bit longer at the major league level and solidify a spot for himself rest of season in that like now hot, sexy, kind of cool, kind of dope Chicago White Sox lineup. Next up, we have a guy that we just talked about a couple of weeks ago, so I will keep it a little bit shorter than usual. If you want the more in-depth analysis and you go check out that video on one of these sides here, you know that's how you promote your old stuff, boy. But he's called up now. He's hitting bombs left, right, and center. He's looking great. He's speedy. He's fast. He's an absolute animal on the base paths. And I honestly think that he could project as a more reliable fantasy asset than Braden Montgomery. And that is, welcome back, Mr. Cole Carrig from the Colorado Rockies. So trying to keep it brief, Carrig does arrive in the majors with definitely less pedigree and like hype than Montgomery does, as he didn't crack any top 100 lists entering the season, but he was at least annihilating baseballs in AAA, hitting 338, 414, 529 with 6 home runs and 30 swipes. The kid has wheels. Carrig does just make a bunch of contact, and I think he could legit be a double machine in Coors Field, not a total zero for power, and it's just elite on the base pass, evidenced by his 30 swipes in AAA this year. His skill set, I think, aligns up perfectly for the friendly hitter confines of Coors Field, a contact-first extra base hit machine with some power and a lot of speed. The BABIP is always inflated in Coors because Coors Field has those deep corners and those wide gaps, making him a threat literally for a three-piece, for a three-bag, every time he hits the ball past an outfielder. And like we've seen it already, just look how fast he's zooming here. His sprint speed is in the 99th percentile after all, and I don't honestly know if this is a hot take anymore. It kind of was as I was recording this, but he hit another bomb tonight. I honestly just think his profile is way more set up for success than Braden Montgomery because speed doesn't slump and he gets the Coors bump. I do think Carrick will have a much safer floor. Alibite probably a smaller ceiling than Braden Montgomery, of course, because he's never going to match that tremendous power output that Montgomery could have. But I really like Cole Carrigan. He started off his major league career with a bang. And I'm excited that I have him on like a majority of my teams. Also, a little quick TV timeout here. That Jacob Mizorowski game tonight, the 9 innings, 15 Ks, and 1 hit against the Phillies was actually probably the most insane game, at least that I've ever seen somebody pitch while watching it. That was ridiculous. Guy topping out at 105 miles per hour, peppering them all night. Guy's actually a freak. And I am so stoked to have him on all my teams and all my best ball drafts. He legitimately looks like the best pitcher in baseball right now. And I don't even think that's a bold take at all. The kid is a freak. Okay, but last up here, we got another prospect to secure in that bag, securing that dough before even playing a second in the majors, which I still think is like honestly crazy, but it's been working out for teams. So you do you guys. And yes, I know if you're feeling like you have a little bit of prospect fatigue the last few weeks, you're in the same boat as me. I have the same feelings at all. But when there's upside to be had, upside to be chased, to help lift our fantasy squads out of the gutter, if they're down there, we have to take notice. And that's exactly what we're doing with Luis Lara from the Milwaukee Brewers. So Lara, for real life baseball, 100% be a net positive bang for the Brewers and their title hopes this year. The 21-year-old is just a superb defender in center field. His hitting profile also is kind of second to none, evidenced by him walking more than striking out and a ridiculous 92% zone contact rate. Like, what even is that? The exit velocities are average at best, though, which makes sense since he's only 5'7". I'd absolutely be towering over that guy at my crazy 5'10" height. But boy, he holds a 947 OPS at AAA with 7 home runs and 18 stolen bases. So the profile is looking good and looking like it can work out at the major league level. And why I'm bringing him up now as somebody to stash, because there's now 31 million reasons for the Brewers to call him up sooner rather than later. Kind of like what we saw with Colt Emerson earlier this year. The switch hitter is just a potential power speed threat. And also, I just have a lot of faith in the Brewers. I know I am suffering from prospect fatigue, but there is a scenario where Lara could just be very useful for fantasy managers over the summer months, and I'm okay chasing him if you have an open NA spot and nothing to lose. Okay, now it's time to go over the most added or other popular players that I want to quickly talk about and whether I'd add them, hold them, or fold them, baby. First up for the pitchers, we got Christian Scott off the New York Mets. Now, I have had a few comments about Scotty Boy lately. Now, I don't mind him at all, but I'm not like overly excited about rostering him. He's not going to make it past 5 innings often. The ceiling is pretty limited in my eyes. He's doing a good job of limiting hard contacts, but his whiffs, strikeouts, and walks make his room for error very small, extremely small. Scott is pretty much just a 2-pitch pitcher right now with the 4-seamer and sweeper. And I think if he can figure out how to get his cutter to be a strike pitch, it will help alleviate some of that stress that he has on his secondaries right now. And then I can see him definitely taking another step forward. In the meantime, I view him as like a solid streamer that you don't necessarily have to add or hold depending who's available in your player pool. I would say if you already have him rostered, give him the hold. But if he's a free agent in your pool, I give him the fold. Next up, we have Edward Cabrera. Now, really, this should be like in the most dropped section because not a lot of people are adding this guy. But I felt like I wanted to talk about him just briefly here. Cabrera is just struggling mightily any way you look at it. The thing I liked most about Edward last year was the way that he ditched that 4-seamer for his sinker, because that 4-seamer had just caused him so much trouble in the past, and it seemed to work wonders. Well, he's back to throwing 4-seamers more often, and we're seeing terrible results. The changeup is still so dominant though, and the arsenal has everything movement-wise where we saw that mini breakout last year, but we are halfway through June with loads of arms on the wire where you could just chase better production. I actually recently dropped him in one of my leagues, if you can believe that. If you guys have been following me, you know the crush that I had on Cabrera forever. It broke my heart to do that. But at some point, you just got to move on, and you need to get some production. And there was guys on my wire that were giving better production than Edward Cabrera was doing. At some point, you just got to call it quits with some players and move on, and that's exactly what I did. Fold them. All right, next up, I don't know if you forgot about this guy, but Mick Gable, who potentially looked like they're on a way to have a breakout season after spinning back-to-back gems before he hurt his elbow. He was locating his heater upside with 96-mile-per-hour velocity with the 17 to 18-inch vert, landing sliders and curveballs down low, and against righties, his changeup in his last outing at least was recording a 47% CSW with a 38% usage, which is just so awesome to see from a pitcher. I still believe that he's an arm that just can absolutely soar if it all comes together for him, like we saw in those last two outings before he went on the IL. Now, the injury may have derailed some of the momentum that he gained from those two starts, but he was really sharp in his first rehab outing in AAA, striking out 5 over 3 scoreless. He's definitely a big list type guy again in the near future, but I just quickly wanted to shout him out here while his roster rate's still pretty low, around 10 to 15%, as we're still a few weeks out from him getting back into the starting rotation. I'd add him, boys. And last up for the pitchers, we got Gage Jump. Now, I'm really into Jump in a heterosexual way. I think there's loads of talent and potential in that arm, like we've talked about when he was highlighted in the main waiver wire section a couple of weeks ago. The main thing here, without rehashing his arsenal and movement profile, blah, 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 is the ballpark that's in Vegas now. That shit is wild. Like, they for sure are juicing the baseballs to make it like a low-scoring NFL game. And obviously, elevated 2,000 feet above sea level isn't helping, especially with that hot, dry desert air. The balls just look like they're absolutely flying out there. Some like routine flyouts are leaving yard, like that John Heim one was just ridiculous. I'm not starting a starting pitcher there ever, and unless I desperately need to. I love the potential, I love the talent, but that ballpark just stinks, man. But I'm still gonna give him like the add hold type tag here, because 50% of the time, I think he's going to be really useful. Okay, now on to the hitters, and first up we have Jack Caglione. Now, a popular breakout pick by many, Caglione has just not lived up to the expectations so far whatsoever. But there has always been some little reason for hope. Just like looking at his StatCast page, the guy hits the ball, and he hits it very hard, always has. The problem was he was just pounding that thing into the dirt way too often to let his natural abilities shine. That hasn't been an issue lately at all, though. His average launch angle has gone up 3 degrees in April to 11 in May and now 17 in June. The guy does still strike out and whiff way too much, but the upside is clear as day. It's evident. Jack has went 14 for 26 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 2 steals, 5 walks, and 6 strikeouts in June. Like, that's elite production so far. And man, if things are starting to click and he's going to toss in a few steals here and there, like, that will be insane. That will do, donkey. That will do. Go at him, boys. And obviously hold him. If for some reason he's obviously available in your league, which I imagine he's not available in most, definitely the shallower type ones. Holy shit. So next up we have a guy on a current 18-game hit streak setting MLB records. And it's not like he's just picking up one hit at a time either. He's doing this by dropping 4 or 5 hit bombs multiple times. In a non-batting average or OBP league, it can sort of be like an empty hit profile. But in a category league, he's single-handedly winning you hits each week, while crushing the batting average and OBP categories as well, and also picking up just a ton of runs during this streak. The best part of it all, though, 3 steals in his last 5 games. If he can continue that with his current hitting profile, even when it does slow down a little bit, like inevitably it just will, he will continue to be extremely valuable for fantasy purposes and just shouldn't be floating out on any wires in 12-team leagues right now. Add him or hold him, boys. And we'll keep going with Cody Clemens. Now, Clemens has just shown signs of power the last 2 years now. There's just never been enough in the rest of his hitting profile for him to be fantasy relevant, at least consistently for 12-team leagues. To his credit, though, he's been a top 75 player in the last month with 6 home runs and 12 RBI. He has shortened up his swing a little bit this year to make more contact, and it has reflected in the batting average. He was batting .213 last year to .245 this year. He's striking out a bit less, but his expected stats are slightly worse than his actuals, and for someone who doesn't really walk and doesn't really steal, if he's not hitting you a homer, you're more likely than not going to be disappointed you started him that night. He does have nice position eligibility though, but personally, unless I'm super desperate for power, I'd rather chase elsewhere. Bold. And then last up, Bryce Eldridge. Like, how is he still under 25% owned in Yahoo? I honestly don't understand. Like, who are we keeping on our benches in 12 league teams right now that potentially has more upside than him? I'm like genuinely curious. If he's available in your league right now, you're in a 12-team league, who are you keeping on your bench that you'd rather have over Eldridge? No judgment, I'm just genuinely curious. Let me know in the comments down below. It's recap time. Did I f over your team this week? Stay tuned to find out. All right, recap time where I go over my prior waiver wire video to see how those guys did and see if a punishment is justified based on what you just saw in that little clip previous here. So the video we're going over is from June 6th. So first up, we had Novelva Marte, and oh baby, is it happening? Like, stop freaking sitting him, Terry. Come on, let the kid play. He's swiping bags, he's hitting home runs. I'm excited, but I know I'm okay with getting my heart broken again. I know it might not happen for him. And then we had Edwin Arroyo, and now he has hits in 3 straight, but he's just not playing enough, I don't think. I wasn't like the highest on him when I talked about him. If he doesn't pick it up in the next week or so, I can definitely see him just getting sent back down. And then we had Shane Drohan, who survived Coors. I was nervous about it, and the pitch count did get up to 83. I think that's the biggest thing here. I'm still in for Philly. It sucks he's got Atlanta afterwards, and he's going to have to pitch decently well to solidify his spot in the rotation rest of season. The talent is just undoubtedly there, though, and I'm excited to watch him and continue to watch him pitch. Then we had Yohandy Morales, and still a nice stash. Then we had Bryce Eldridge, and this one just felt like an absolute gimme. I can't believe his roster rate, like we are talking about earlier in the video, is or was still so low. The guy just keeps on mashing. Like, come on, people. Add this guy to your teams. Let's go. So Marte's solid, good. I think it's good. Arroyo sucks. I wasn't hype on him, but that's an L. Drohan, good. I just need him to keep it up, please. Morales, stash, doesn't count. Eldridge, unreal, awesome, obviously. So let's just punch that in here. No punishment, boy. We've been on an absolute roll with these waiver wires. I hate to, like, toot my own horn, no, tweak my own nipples. But, man, we've covered some great guys early, never usually late. Some guys are just like turning into studs. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm not. Let me know in the comments if you think I've been terrible all year. We've barely had any punishments. Let me know if you think I've been decent. You know, pump me up, boys. Pump me up. All right, and we're going to try something else here, something a little different in these videos. I can do like my favorite out of the week for a hitter and favorite out of the week for the pitcher. Like if you only had one move per week for each guy. And for the hitter, I'm going to double down here. I'm going with my boy. I'm going with Jordan Lawler. He impressed me again tonight. I'm hoping that he's finally putting everything together, and I'm excited for him. And pitcher-wise, I know we didn't have anyone in the main waiver wire section, but if we go in the ad holder fold, I'm going Mick Abel. I liked what I saw the 2 starts before he got hurt, and I'm excited to see if he can build off that. I hope that elbow injury didn't derail anything, and I'm excited to see what he can do going forward. So Jordan Lawler and Mick Abel, my favorite ads of the week. But all right, boys, that's it for this video. Another waiver wire in the books. As always, if you guys are still watching, I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys commenting. I appreciate you guys liking, hyping this video. Make sure to sub if you haven't subbed. We're almost getting close to 3K here. That's crazy. I wouldn't have thought in 1,000 years when I started this a year ago that I would have 3K subs in a year. Like, never would have thought of that. So that's all to you guys. Thanks. I'm having fun doing this. I hope you guys are having fun watching this. And as always, have a good rest of your night, day, week, weekend, wherever you are. I'll see you guys real soon.